How do we help another human being? By not reinforcing the drama. In order not to reinforce the drama, you can't be identified with your own drama. If I sit down with somebody with AIDS and I think I'm helping them, forget it. They're now somebody that needs to be helped. When actually, you here, I'm here. You have an interesting incarnation this time. It includes AIDS. And it's extraordinary that when your mind is quiet enough and you're present enough, somebody else can get loose from their suffering. How do we help another human being?
Kindred souls, as we begin, we take a moment to honor the foundational hearts, the one who saw the need for this sanctuary and dared to plant the seed. We acknowledge every hand that has tended this garden, from the first whispered idea to the vibrant evolution we sit in today. To those who began this group, your seva has created a clearing in the woods where we can finally breathe. Today, we honor that service by being fully present. We recognize that our collective strength is built upon your individual commitment to self-seva, the quiet daily practice of returning to your own heart. Because you chose to work on yourselves, we have a place to work together. We are here, we are seen, and we are home. Hi everybody, my name is Angus, and I also go by Angus by design. So we're looking forward to our first gathering of 2026. And as we settle into the sanctuary, I just invite you to take a moment to be here now, centering yourself in the loving awareness that has brought us together here today. We gather as a community that honors individual differences and celebrates the full spectrum of gender and sexuality. Ram Dass reminded us that we must have a strong sense of who we are before we can engage in social action. And this affinity group provides the essential, inclusive environment to explore our shared experiences, soul to soul. As we step into this new year, we are evolving our practice. We are moving deeper into the spirit of mutuality, recognizing that every person in this circle is both a giver and a receiver. In the tradition of peer-run warm lines, we are here to offer a listening ear and emotional support, not to fix or cure one another. We adopt a trauma-informed lens, shifting our focus from what's wrong to what's strong or what happened. And most importantly, what is happening right here, right now. We rest in the 3 C's. We did not cause each other's struggles. We cannot cure them. And we cannot change anyone's path. But we can, with unconditional love and unconditional high regard, walk each other home. So the invitation for 2026. We invite you to be more than a participant. We invite you to be a co-creator with a little structure and a little bit of modeling after the Love, Serve, Remember guidelines. This is an open space for your direction and your voice. Everyone is invited to propose an idea for a future session or project. You're encouraged to seek the support of others here to implement your vision. Our community Zoom and YouTube account is open to you for meetings or creative endeavors. Ideas can be submitted directly to Jacqueline or shared openly in our sessions. Before we begin our reading from How Can I Help, I'm just going to take a moment and hold space for the mystery that we will co-create together next year. Let us engage with lightness, joy, and the brave honesty of the heart. Ram Ram, everybody. Thank you. This is a reading from the book How Can I Help? Stories and Reflections on Service by Ram Dass and Paul Gordon. 1. Natural Compassion. I was in about 40 feet of water alone. I knew I should not have gone alone, but I was very confident and just took a chance. There was not much current, and the water was so warm and clear and enticing. But when I got a cramp, I realized at how foolish I was. I was not very alarmed, but was completely doubled up with stomach cramp. I tried to remove my weight belt, but I was so doubled up I could not get to the catch. I was sinking and began to feel more frightened, unable to move. I could see my watch and knew that there was only a little more time on the tank before I would be finished with breathing. I tried to massage my abdomen. I wasn't wearing a wetsuit, but couldn't straighten out and couldn't get to the cramped muscles with my hands. I thought, I can't go out like this. I have things to do. I just couldn't die anonymously this way, with no one to even know what happened to me. I called out in my mind, somebody, somebody help, something help me. I was not prepared for what happened. Suddenly, I felt prodding from behind me under the armpit. I thought, oh no, sharks. I felt real terror and despair, but my arm was being lifted forcibly. Around into my field of vision came an eye, the most marvelous eye that I ever could imagine. I swear it was smiling. It was the eye of a big dolphin. Looking into that eye, I knew I was safe. It moved farther forward, nudging under, and hooked its dorsal fin under my armpit with my arm over its back. I relaxed, hugging it, flooded with relief. I felt that the animal was conveying security to me, and it was healing me as well as lifting me towards the surface. My stomach cramp went away and we ascended, and I relaxed with security. But I felt very strongly that it healed me too. At the surface, it drew me away. At the surface, it drew me all the way into shore. It took me into the water so shallow that I began to be concerned for it, that it would be beached. And I pushed it back a little deeper, where it waited, watching me to see if I was all right. It felt like another lifetime. When I took off the weight belt and oxygen, I just took everything off and went naked back into the ocean to the dolphin. I felt so light and free and alive, and just wanted to play in the sun and the water and all that freedom. The dolphin took me back out and played around in the water with me. I noticed that there were a lot of dolphins there, further out. After a while, it brought me back to shore. I was very tired then, almost collapsing, and he made sure I was safe in the shallowest water. Then he turned sideways with one eye looking into mine. We stayed that way for what seemed like a very long time. Timeless, I guess, in a trance almost, with personal thoughts of the past going through my mind. Then he made just one sound and went out to join the others, and all of them left. At times, helping happens simply in the way of things. It's not something we really think about, merely in the instinctive response of an open heart. Caring is a reflex. Someone slips, your arm goes out. A car is in a ditch, you join the others and push. A colleague at work has the blues, you let her know that you care. And it all seems natural and appropriate. You live, you help. When we join together in this spirit, action comes more effortlessly, and everybody ends up nourished. Girding against the flood, setting up a community meeting, preparing a funeral, people seem to just know their part. We sense what's called for, or if we don't, and feel momentarily awkward, someone comes quickly with an idea and it's just right, and we're grateful. We babysit the kids while other parents move possessions to homes farther from the rising river. We bring a comfortable chair for an older person who might attend the meeting. We call the rabbi with the favorite psalm of the one who just died, and needs are anticipated, and glances of appreciation among us are enough to confirm that it's all going well. We take pleasure not only in what we did, but in the way we did it. On one hand, the effort was so natural it might seem pointless or self conscious to make something of it. It was what it was. Yet, if we stop to consider why it all felt so good, we sense that some deeper process was at work. Expressing our innate generosity, we experienced our kinship, our kindness. It was us in service. We taste unity. The state had just released many people from its mental institutions with very little preparation. Our halfway house was about to be flooded with applicants. We had only so much room. Who to shelter, who to clothe, who to feed, deep questions to be faced very suddenly. An hour before we opened, we agreed to sit together in silence. Meditation, prayer, just plain calming down. Everyone went for their ammo. We opened the doors, somehow trusting. Everything we did, we agreed to do with love. Those people we accepted with love. Those we turned away to help find alternatives, love. Everyone seemed to understand. The difference between us all, staff and applicants alike, seemed less solid. The whole idea that it all had to do with mental illness even seemed a little artificial. Nobody was really thinking that much or or had time to or needed to or something. So much of it was just coming from our heart. So many people with so many problems, but it went so smoothly. How? The day after we were done, we sat down to discuss what had happened. Your classic evaluation procedure. Can we come to order? Which was met with some laughter. So, someone said, this is one person. Then this one person stood up and said, these past 3 days, that was about who we are, who we all really are, the way we were. That was the truth about us deep down. There was a moment's silence. Someone said, right. And that was the meeting. We waited a little longer. You're not used to things becoming clear like that. But after a minute or two, People gradually got up and went back to work. Caring for one another, we sometimes glimpse an essential quality of our being. We may be sitting alone, lost in self-doubt or self-pity, when the phone rings with a call from a friend who's really depressed. Instinctively, we come out of ourselves just to be there with her and say a few reassuring words. When we're done and a little comfort has been shared, we put down the phone and feel a little more at home with ourselves. We're reminded of who we really are and what we have to offer one another. When the experience of helping seems so natural, it's not surprising we find ourselves wishing or wondering if things could be like that more or even most of the time. I went as a representative for the hippie community of San Francisco to meet the Hopi Indian elders to arrange a Hopi hippie bee in Grand Canyon. We wanted to honor their tradition and affirm our common respect for the land. As you can guess, this was during the 60s. Four elders sat at a kitchen table in an adobe building on four chairs. There were no more chairs when I got there. So I sat on the floor, kneeling opposite them, so I could see over the table, but under it as well. The youngest was 65, the eldest 110. I could see their hands on their knees under the table. They looked like roots in the earth. There was something so absolutely connected about the whole quality of their presence. We discussed what it might mean to bring together these different groups and generations of Americans. They told me about the difficulties they had been having with white people. One of their braves had recently become involved in an auto accident with the truck from the Bureau of Indian Affairs. The BIA truck had been at fault, but the next day the BIA found a liquor bottle nearby and claimed the brave had been drinking. We called the young man in and asked him if he had been drinking. One of them told me he said no, and then his elder looked at me very directly and very simply said, "And he speaks truth." A chill went through me at that moment. It wasn't just that I believed him or that any doubt or suspicion I might have had immediately silenced. I experienced a kind of primordial memory of a time when you just spoke truth, a time when relationships were built on trust. That's the way it was done because that's just how people were. Somewhere deep within many of us is a vision of how helping would flow from trust in ourselves and in others. Or perhaps we might recall images of life in a town in which doors have to be locked. Responsibilities were more commonly shared, and going out of your way was hardly out of the ordinary. Or maybe we find ourselves yearning for a future society where the care of others wouldn't have to be mandated. Service wouldn't be a duty, it would be a habit and the way of natural compassion. And yet, although at times helping may happen simply in the way of things, all too often helping isn't happening at all. Even if it is, it can be anything but natural, self-conscious, half-hearted, begrudging. How much are we willing to give, and what are we holding on to? How do we really feel about the place of helping in our lives? We needn't go deep beneath the surface before we encounter our ambivalence. We note the interplay of generosity and resistance, self-sacrifice and self-protectiveness. What do we hear as we imagine the mind wrestling with the impulses of the heart. Sometimes I help and sometimes I don't. I hold the door open for one behind me, or I rush through, preoccupied in thought. I vote, but not always. When solicitations come through the mail, some catch my eye or heart, and I send at least something. Others I basket as junk mail. A friend is having a hard time. I think I should phone to see how she is, but I just don't feel like doing it tonight. I'd do anything to help the family, but how much is enough? When to stretch a little further? Whose needs come first? Those close to me get an immediate hearing. The suffering of people more remote gets sporadic attention. I'm only vaguely aware of it. It's out there somewhere. But whom should I help anyway? Senior citizens, battered children, human rights victims, whales? Well, if we don't diffuse the nuclear threat, there will be no tomorrow. But if we don't support education and the arts, what kind of tomorrow will we be? If I stop thinking about it, or if I stop to think about it, I help out for all kinds of reasons. Maybe it's because I should. It's a matter of responsibility. But there's usually a maze of other motives, a need for self-esteem, approval, status, power, and the desire to feel useful, find intimacy, pay back some debt. Sometimes I'll help through organizations, but the purpose of helping and the people who really need it often seems to fall through the cracks. Maybe I'd rather do it one-to-one, keep my options open, help out here and there. I expect my government to relieve suffering. Sometimes it does, but it also pays farmers not to produce wheat, while somewhere every 45 seconds a small child starves to death. And a public official, no better or worse person than I, finds reasons to justify this policy, but would probably do everything he could facing with one starving child. There are times when service is effortless, other days burnout. With one person, I'm totally open and present. With the next, I might be on Mars. Or I might as well be on Mars. Sometimes the chance to care for another human being feels like such grace. But later on, I'm hearing myself thinking, hey, what about me? Over Gandhi's tomb are inscribed the words that say, think of the poorest person you have ever seen and ask if your next act will be any use to him. That'll flash through my mind as I prepare to throw a frisbee. And then I spend $15 dining out and going to a movie to ward off boredom. I might recall that a $15 operation could restore someone's sight in a third world country. I am moved by the power of Gandhi's invitation. Live simply that others might simply live. But I'm not at all clear about how to heed that. Day in and day out, here in the affluent West, sometimes I feel a little guilty. I'm fortunate for the moment to have good health and loving friends, to be housed and fed, with work to do and some time to play. When I myself need help, there's usually someone to call. I'm able to spend some time away from places where suffering is really visible and just can't be screened out. Yet there are a few days when I'm not feeling human pain, my own or another's. If it's not there in front of me, I see a steady stream of images of misery that on the evening news of a suffering planet. Homeless, one huddled by the doorway or tree, old one looking vacant in a nursing home, slain revolutionary or National Guardsman. Both teenagers Drunk driver, just realizing he's killed his whole family, starving child's bloated belly, and haunted eyes, victims of natural disasters, helpless leaders, helpless helpers. Some images I ponder, what's that one saying? Others make me uneasy. I tune them out. Some make me angry. I want to get up and do something. Others make me sigh, horror and compassion. And finally, I might have to turn away, close off, and escape into some philosophical sanctuary. It's all just too much. How can I keep my heart open and not go under? I've got my own life to live after all. Still, I'd like to do more for others. What do I have to offer and what would help me most? Complicated business, all this. Look, you do the best you can. So we face an interesting situation. Our impulses to care for one another often seem instinctive. The more we're able to act on them freely, the more opportunity we have to feel whole and be helpful. But there are clearly many ways in which we hesitate to reach out or we get confused when we try. The reason for this don't the reasons for this don't appear to be simple at all. Perhaps it's due to conditioning or custom. When people lost sight of the way to live, came codes of love and honesty. Learning came, charity came, hypocrisy took charge. When differences weakened family ties, came benevolent fathers and dutiful sons. Came ministers commended as loyal. The In the Way of Life, written 2,500 years ago, Lao Tzu evokes circumstances that affect us today. We can see them at work even in a very simple request for help. Up comes a stranger and asks, "Can you spare a quarter?" Almost immediately, certain biases rise to the surface and make us hesitate. Perhaps we hold back because works of compassion have become formalized. We've already put money into the collection plate and we gave at the office. Those funds should have been put to work for this guy already, and or they're waiting for him in one form or another at his local shelter or soup kitchen. We're about to say no to his request, but we pause a second longer. We can't quite let it go that any more than we comfortably leave it all to Uncle Sam. Perhaps we've been taught family first. Beyond a certain parameter, our standards change. This fellow asking for money, he's not really us. We might feel tentative or hesitant because we haven't had a strong experience of family. As a result of weakened ties, whether in marriages, between generations, or among distant relatives, our habits of giving have become less than spontaneous. We're not quite sure of what we owe one another, even in our immediate circle. Has our education helped? We've had canned food drives in the school, but have we been brought face to face with those who are hungry, human need, helplessness, and experience of suffering? Do we study and discuss these as we grow up? We probably won't get any sense of who this man asking for money really is because we find it hard to look him in the eye. We find it hard to look most people in the eye on the street. We stand next to each other in elevators and suddenly get interested in our shoes. In many of our dwellings and communities, we've invested a good deal in our privacy. If we speak infrequently to neighbors, or we any more likely Or are we any more likely to respond to the stranger? With nothing to go on, we guess who he is. Newly released mental patient, we might go to our pocket. Alcoholic, we'd only be making things worse. Who knows? So we give, or we don't, and we walk on. In all these questions and doubts, if all these questions and doubts can arise in so ordinary a situation, they'll surely be felt when the demand on us is greater. Do we agree to tithe the portion of our income for famine relief? Do we welcome the establishment of a shelter for the homeless right around the corner? Do we take in our aging father or send him to a nursing home? The effect of conditioning, of course, doesn't disappear once we've agreed to help out. Whether it's for a few hours, a week, or a full-time job, we'll still find ourselves asking where to draw the line, how much we're prepared to give, and what we need to hold on to. But it's difficult to attribute our uncertainties to the influence of custom and circumstances alone. The roots of these external forces are apparent within each of us. If we're at least a little bit honest with ourselves, we may cling to familiar circles of association because we're afraid of being rejected. We'll help a friend who understands our sensitivities, but volunteering to cross class lines and work with young unwed mothers might be a little threatening. Are we ready for that? Are they us? We may have a difficult time facing and suffering, the suffering of others because we don't know how to deal with our own pain and fear. We've waited for weeks to visit a terminally ill colleague with whom we've worked for years. It's clear that our own death, not his, we're afraid of. And if we realize that, our guilt may only block us further. Our choice of how to help may turn on personal motives and needs. We're genuinely eager to aid in the physically or mentally ill. But frankly, we like the status and even the power of being a health professional. Some part of us takes pride at being the apparent source of another's well being. And when we wonder what we have to offer anyone under any circumstances, aren't we really questioning our self worth? Whatever outside influences that were at work, aren't we still asking the most basic inner question of all? Who am I? Often we reach out to help one another and succeed. The expression of our natural compassion comes easily and we're equal to the challenge. But clearly, these deep internal questions of identity and relationship are going to arise much of the time that we're caring for one another. The more wrenching the situation, the more likely issues will be central. So, who are we to ourselves and to one another? It will all come down to that. Will we look within? Can we see that to be to be of most service to others, we must face our own doubts, needs, and resistances? We've never really grown without having done so. This wouldn't be the first time we fought the inertia of conditioning. So here then is the path we can follow in this book, in the company and with the testimony of others like us who are facing these essential questions in their own daily work. We can seek to identify certain basic inner obstacles to the expression of our caring instincts. As we rise to the surface in familiar concrete situations, we can bring them into the clear light of awareness. We see how this resistance is affecting our ability to hear people's needs, and how this habit is shaping our attitude to social action, how this expectation is contributing to burnout. By carefully observing these hindrances, we can strip away some of their hidden power and reduce their influence over us. With a certain amount of perspective, in fact, we can come to see them not only as problems to overcome, but as information leading to a deeper understanding of service. We can make use of them, helping ourselves help others. And as the hold of these obstructions lessens, then our generosity will flow more spontaneously and effortlessly. Compassion will come forth as needed, as appropriate, simply because it is its nature to do so. Able to come, able to help in ways we might not have imagined, we will find its inner work making itself in everything we do. Our notion of helping itself will expand. We will grow and be greater in service as a result. On this path, we will stumble, fall, and often look a little foolish. We are confronting long-standing patterns of thought and action, compassion for ourselves, perspective, humor. These are all our allies. And with their help, we can come to see, in the words of the Bhagavad Gita, that no step is lost on its path, and even a little progress is freedom from fear. And the reward, the real grace of conscious service, then is the opportunity not only to help relieve suffering, but to grow in wisdom, experience greater unity, and have a good time while we're doing it. I'm 92 years old, all right. I get up every morning at 7 a.m. Each day I remind myself, wake up, get up. I talk to my legs. Legs, get moving. Legs, you're an antelope. It's a matter of mind over matter. You have to have the right spirit. And I'm out on the streets 7:30 a.m. sharp. I'm wearing my Honorable Sanitation Commissioner badge they gave me from City Hall. I'm alert, I'm ready, I'm out there. And I got my whistle. My job is I help get parked cars off the street so they can bring in the sanitation trucks and the Wayne broom. And the big one, 30 grand for a broom. So when they show up, I go around blowing my whistle to get people to move their cars. I have a great time. People are asleep. They're busy with business. They're busy taking time off from the business. They're busy having a good time. They're busy not having a good time. Whatever, I don't care. I blow my whistle. I'm all over the place. I don't discriminate either. I go after the sanitation men too. The union got them a coffee break, some coffee. They're having eggs, they're having bacon, they're having toast, they're having French toast. I kid them about it. And I go right into the restaurant and I blow my whistle. They love it. They understand. Everybody loves it. Everybody understands. It's the whistle that gets them. Sometimes I'm having such a laugh, I can't blow it. Then I get back to work. Schleppers get moving. Let's go. This used to be a beautiful city. People cared. If you didn't pay your rent, the sheriff would come and put your furniture out on the street. But the poorest of the poor would come automatically and drop their pennies and nickels at your house and put you back into your apartment. That's neighborhood. Now it's different. Things have gotten out of kilter. Hard to say why. People seem to be lost in their own lives. I see them on the street, lost in their own thoughts. Not that that's bad. Not that I'm all that indifferent. I'm a schlep myself. I have so many bad habits as anyone. You should see my apartment. It's a mess. Me, Mr. Clean. But I'm trying. Let's try. It's all possible. What can I tell you? I'm not a saint or a wise man. I'm not the 2,000-year-old man. I'm only the 92-year-old man. Just a senior citizen, but what do I know that everybody doesn't know? We know. I just go out there in the morning and blow my whistle. That's what I do. You do what you do. Me, I'm having a great time. Wonderful fun. And when people see how much fun I'm having, they have to laugh. What else can they do? Then I hit them with, move your car. Oh, I love that. All right, everybody. So as we prepare to leave this digital sanctuary, we offer our deepest gratitude to the co-creators and pioneers who continue to sustain this space. Your service is a living prayer. We dedicate the merit to this gathering to the journey of every soul present. As you return to your individual paths, remember that your greatest act of seva is the kindness you show yourself. May you continue your self-seva with the same devotion you give to this group. We release the stories shared here into the vault of confidentiality. We leave the roles of helper and helped behind, returning to the simplicity of being. Go gently, knowing you are never walking alone. Namaste. And to our foundational co-creators and those who continue to be part of our foundation, there is a specific kind of bravery required to build a bridge that has never existed before. By combining the teachings of loving awareness with the principles of international peer support, you didn't just start a group, you initiated a shift of how our two-spirit, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgendered, queer, questioning, intersexed, and asexual, plus allies, community experiences spirituality. So we thank you for your vision, seeing the intersection where our identities and our souls meet. Your courage, navigating the grist of organizational growth with a quiet mind. Your self-seva, for every hour you spent in meditation, in therapy, or in nature, because that inner work is what makes the outer work possible. And you have taught us that to love, serve, and remember is not a burden, but a joy when shared in mutuality. So we honor your path, we celebrate your service, and we stand on the shoulders of your love. Till next time, everybody. Ram Ram.
How do we help another human being? By not reinforcing the drama. In order not to reinforce the drama, you can't be identified with your own drama. If I sit down with somebody with AIDS and I think I'm helping them, forget it. They're now somebody that needs to be helped. When actually, you here, I'm here. You have an interesting incarnation this time. It includes AIDS. And it's extraordinary that when your mind is quiet enough and you're present enough, somebody else can get loose from their suffering if they're ready. You have no moral right to take away their suffering. If the Jewish mother wants to sit in the dark, that's her choice. But you can become an environment so spacious that anybody can get free around you that's ready. That's why you work on yourself. That's what help you offer. You work on yourself through everything in your life, and when something catches you, it's a good chance to work on yourself. When somebody gets you angry, it's just the guru in drag who's come to show you your stash of clinging of mind.